Depending on where you get the stroke damage, there's this whole world of bizarre aphasias or disorders of communication you can get. You get alexias, you get agraphias. People who can speak, can comprehend, can read, they simply cannot write anymore. People who could do all those things, they simply can't read anymore. People who lose the capacity to recognize certain letters, certain types of words, gerunds. There's some gerund aphasia out there, whatever a gerund is, which I once knew. You get all these sorts of specializations by having far smaller strokes, all these subroutines. Apparently there's been at least one case of a sailor, an elderly sailor who had a stroke, who had learned semaphores, which I guess was some big thing in World War II or something, and had a semaphore aphasia. This is not a very common hominid event to have happen. This is all the different ways. This is lips and ears. It's reading, it's writing, it's semaphores, it's pantomime, it's who knows what. It's much, much more abstract than that. Okay, so you got the left cortex. The left cortex with its specialization, in 90% of cases, you get slightly different localization of Wernicke's and Broca's, in particular, the areas related to reading when you have a language which instead of an alphabet is a pictograph language. For example, Chinese, a pictograph language, you get slightly different areas of activation and thus slightly different areas of strokes will produce a Chinese Broca's aphasia or an alexia, that sort of thing. Doing language as pictures as opposed to doing language of building blocks of individual letters, slightly localized differently in the brain. So the brain is completely devoting its energy on the left side to language, 90% of people. Lateralized, you don't have a Broca's or a Wernicke's on the right side. Destroy the equivalent areas. You do nothing to language. Cut through the brain in cross-section. And this, on this side, the cortex will be a little bit thicker than the cortex on the right side, the equivalent area. So language is all about the left hemisphere. So, of course, this is not true, because you get the prosody stuff in the right hemisphere. That's where you get the coding for tone of voice. That's the part of the brain that's telling you if the person is having a sarcastic tone in their voice when they're saying that. That's the area that's picking up on facial expression, body language. All of that is right hemisphere in 90% of people. And what you see is stroke damage. You can get prosody disorders as well. People are perfectly normal in their auditory comprehension, their reading, writing, their production, all that sort of stuff, but they can't understand context of spoken language from body posture, from tone of voice, things of that sort. So you can have prosody damage, right cortex.